Okay, welcome back to the folks that were here before the break, and a welcome to the folks that have just joined us. So, for the folks that have just joined us, I'm just going to read again a couple of lines that I read from the classics at the beginning. Why are we doing this? Why are we really focused on sound, both in terms of diagnosis and in terms of creating ourselves as an instrument, so that when a patient looks at us, they see themselves beyond their pathology in health, because as an instrument, we create a resonance in the room that speaks to the person's authentic nature. Why is sound so important? This is commentaries on the Nanjing, so Nanjing 61. The medical classics state, he who looks and knows the patient is called spirit. He who listens and knows is called sage. In the Western world, unfortunately, we can sometimes latch onto inquiry, particularly verbal, and try and diagnose people from their stories. Ultimately, observation from the 4 examination skills, observation rules supreme, closely followed by listening skills, audio olfaction, and then appropriate inquiry and palpation to clarify things. So my invitation to you is not just to use sound, passively listening to the person to make an appropriate diagnosis of their authentic nature. And by that, in 5-element language, we talk about the CF and withins. But in the classics, I would refer you to Ling Shu chapter 64, where it talks about the 5 kinds of people and then the 25 kinds of people, to not be simplistic. But also the interface of the person's authentic nature with pathologies that the person has accrued from the internal, external, and miscellaneous causes of disease that has an effect and may change, in fact, colour, sound, odour, emotion. And particularly, it can change the sound of the voice. So even if you have made a diagnosis of this is the person's sheen, their authentic nature, by listening or seeing if there is a different colour, different sound, this can just make sure you don't overlook something else happening for the patient. So as this is seriously rooted in the classics, you know, even if you are from a lineage which has nothing to do with 5-element acupuncture, your lineage is based in the classics, and I would recommend that you really look at the 4 examinations and observation, audio, olfaction, palpation, inquiry, to fit in with the style of practice you are engaged in and your treatment protocols. We all are working with that same background, and we are all trying to make ourselves into the best instrument. So before the break, we looked at, and we did look at, because I was recommending that you draw the sounds as well as hear the sounds, because that way it keeps you into the fact that we are talking about the 5 elements and the correspondences, and they are all saying the same thing. In Chinese medicine, wood is green, is spring. It's not, it's kind of like it. So when we look at the season, we call it spring. When we look at the color, we call it green. It's the same thing. So you don't need different skills for the different examinations. So you can see the sound as well as hear the sound and smell the emotion. So We're now going to move on to metal and wood, metal, water and wood. So I'm going to start off with a couple of metal voices, and we'll just see what we can gather from that. But we want to root this in the correspondences. What is it that we will be experiencing? This is yang on the inside, but yin on the outside. This is the way of health. And with metal we need to be really careful that we don't pervert Tao. The metal CF is meant to be yin on the outside. Quiet, inert, not happy, chatty, clappy. That's on the inside. Okay? So, this is the dispersing and descending, retracting reality of autumn, where you have the fullness of all the colours of the sunset and the encroaching night. So all the colours are on the inside, and outside is inert, progressively colder darkness. This is the movement of dryness of the planet Venus, which is a good correspondence to remember, because some of you erroneously go down the road and metal is to do with judgment. No, that is the gallbladder. And metal is kind of tough and cutting. Oops, the planet Venus. Metal is the most malleable element, it says in the classics, forever moulded by the hands of the craftsman, to long forever being in service to the heart. The white tiger roaming the land, sunset, dusk, the power of balance, again at sunset, retracting all of the goodies so that those will be taken inside. The blood in a human goes deeper in the fall towards the winter. In a tree, the blood is the sap that is pulled inside to enable the essences to maintain. Lung taking the essences from heaven. Large intestine reclaiming the essences from earth. This is what you're going to be hearing in the voice and the breaths, the power of Qi. But that makes it sound too serious, because let's not forget, metal is also the hairy furries, the monkeys that sit and pick nits off each other and taste them. Yep. The 7 Po, dazzling fish, dispeller of stench. Yep. This is instinct. This is the animal soul, the corporeal soul. On the outside, it may look like we are listening to the Russian Orthodox choir. On the inside, we are listening to Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. So be careful about getting too pure, because beware, beware, beware. What is the punishment and what is the reward that we find in autumn? There is no such thing as intrinsic value. In the spring we need leaves on the trees. In the summer we need leaves and flowers on the trees and fruiting. And in the autumn, the leaves are now not good. They will kill the tree if they stay through the winter. So this is all the reality that you should hear with our metal voices.
Only you can hear and see behind the eyes of the sleepers, the movements and countries and mazes, and colors and dismays and rainbows and tunes and wishes and flight and fall and despairs and big seas of their dreams. From where you are, you can hear their dreams.
So when we looked at the 5 voices earlier, we talked about one-on-one relationship, inviting you heart to share in the joy and elation of a life. In Earth, we looked at its community, it's the audience, it's a wider we, not a one-to-one. So the voice is either conveying information, nourishment, sustenance, sincerity, loyalty, compassion from Earth. What was your experience of this voice in terms of your response?
It felt very touching, and it kept falling.
Right, so the direction of the voice is down, down, down. So just go back, those of you that were here. The 5 voice lifts up, and then it goes back inside. It doesn't keep going down, down, down. Here, the voice comes out and goes down. So some of you may feel touched by this. You may have a sense of poignancy. What does grief mean? It means connection and loss. The connection, you need the connection and the loss. Otherwise there is no grief. So it's that sense of the voice has that connection. That's why you experience it as poignant. But some of you may not feel that, because is the voice really speaking to get you engaged? No. It's just offered.
There's distance.
There is a distance because the voice is just offered into the air. The person is as much speaking to the spiders weaving their webs on the ceiling and the little bugs crawling in the floor and the bacteria all over your clothes as you as a human being. It's not a human-centric reality. Next voice.
Absolutely. It's fascinating. So fascinating, isn't it? Okay. The student of medicine should be gentle by birth, excellent by nature, young in years, of moderate stature, and symmetrical limbs, of good understanding and pleasant conversation, sound in judgment when consulted, chaste and courageous, no lover of money, self-controlled when angered, not apt to lose his temper even under severe provocation, and not slow of understanding. He should be sympathetic and kind with the sick, and a faithful guardian of secrets, because many patients tell us about diseases in themselves which they do not wish to be known to others. He should be patient of insults, because many mad and melancholy persons meet us with such, wherein we should bear with them, knowing that this conduct does not proceed from them, but is really caused by disease external to their proper nature. His hair should be cut neatly and symmetrically, and he should neither shave it nor suffer it to grow too luxuriantly. He should neither cut his fingernails too closely, nor suffer them to overgrow the tips of his fingers. His clothes should be white, clean, and soft in texture.
Rosie's voice. What are you hearing?
It's very breathy.
Very breathy. Where does it go?
To me, it tails off at the end.
Right, absolutely. Lifts a little bit. There's the connection in the voice. And then goes down and tails off. This is why paucity of speech is not necessarily a pathology. It's the inertia of the yin on the outside. There's a difference between pathological lung qi and a person not speaking very much. If you have a metal CF who is very verbal, this is an indication of some of their withins. Because they tend not to speak in long, as I call it, joined up writing, joined up speaking, because of the compromise to the breath and the yin. Too much speaking is a pathology, excitation within metal. Anything else from that voice?
Hear the breath a little bit.
Right, okay, absolutely.
There's also a bit of a sparkle in it as well.
Can you define sparkle a little bit more? Because it's not really lifting, but you're not wrong at all.
Well, there's a sort of safe place as well to listen to. A warmth. There's a warmth there. Sparkle is a warmth.
Right. You know, the thing is, if we look at radiance, we're really looking at a yang reality. Whereas if you look at brilliance, we're looking at a yin reality. So very often it has that, there's an illumination,
Yeah.
but it's different than the reality that you're going to get from the yang chi officials. Can you hear all the words distinctly?
No.
Not the end one.
No.
Some of you are saying yes, some of you are saying no. It's because very often it's like there is, why metal is forever molded by the hands of the craftsman, but retains its internal integrity differently than any of the other elements. It's just think of gold. You can melt gold down and make a crown, and you melt it down and make a dagger, and melt it down and make gold coins. So there is that intrinsic nature that doesn't change. And in some of the words you can hear that. It's like a clarity or a real fine structure in the voice. But then because the voice keeps going down and down and down, very often you lose it. And most people complain that they can't hear metal CFs talking because they're just speaking to the floor basically. And it's like, if I don't project my voice even with a microphone on, I've probably now lost 3/4 of the room, right? This is what we're talking about. Okay, let's compare this with the sound of metal, courtesy of the Chinese orchestra, aided by medical practitioners, based on the pentatonic scale and the note that goes with metal. Okay, here we go. So those of you that were here before the break, what's really different about this than the fire music or the earth music we listened to?
With the other two, I moved and I tapped my foot a bit. With that one, I totally still.
Okay.
Could you repeat that?
With the other two music, I was like, I tapped my foot to the music. With this one, I was just perfectly still, and I actually kept putting my head down. With the other one, I was like, ooh, quite cheery.
This one is a steady radiance, like what you say.
Okay. Did you find this one more difficult, some of you? Right. It's like normally, because the other ones somehow seem to be inviting you to join in. And this one, people say it's like listening to the music of machines rather than humans, in the sense that there's a lot more discordance, things going on, you know, fingers running around down chalkboards can be equally as screeching. It's like,
I didn't find it uncomfortable.
right.
And I'm quite visual, so I got quite strong images. And with the, for
Stand up,
example,
Holly, because they're not going to hear.
with the earth music, there was a sense of, this kind of slow processional kind of rhythm. And I did get a sense of rhythm and structure in this, definitely in the music. I
Right.
don't think it was sharp. But it put me in mind of, those processions where people ritually bow.
Right.
So there was this movement of, again, the downward movement. But it felt to me quite gracious. Anyway, that was
Right.
just my response.
Good. Good. Pardon? You thought it was like an execution. Okay. You get the reward of the sword. You know that what's really important is that you kind of see your responses to these. Because with the first one in the world, some of you are real comfortable with some of the energetics and some of them are difficult for you. And as long as you know this and then can tweak yourself becoming an instrument, then sometimes the ones you actually get wrong clinically is more your own element. Sometimes the ones that you don't understand, you work harder to find a way of getting with it, and it actually is easier for you. So one more voice from the tape.
When I had known Matt for 10 months, I went to the doctor.
Sorry, wrong. It skipped back.
When we lived on 80th Street in Jackson Heights, a woman named Betty Davis lived across the street from us in a small, mysterious apartment. The curtains were green velvet with black fringes, and the floor was a carpet of peonies. I made up any excuse to visit Betty. I thought she was exotic because her name was the same as the movie stars, and because she had the beauty mark on her right cheek, and because her hair smelled like rose water. I loved sitting in the rocking chair next to her, asking questions about her life when she crocheted squares of a black and yellow afghan. Where was she born? What did she want to get married? And what did she do at her job? Betty was 26, worked as a stewardess for Eastern Airlines, and I wanted her to be my mother.
Okay, what did you hear with Karen's voice?
Edgar Allan Poe.
Sorry?
Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe. Never mind. Where did the voice go? Down. There's you will get a little bit of a lift or projection because it's like trying to bring something out and then it goes down. Yes?
One feature I tend to pick up with metal and that as well. It stops. It just stops at the end of the, as well as going down, but it does just stop. So there's no kind of gushing like that.
Right, right. No, that's right. Because really, because it's not about communication, fire, or individual relationship, or creating community that we have with singing on earth, really, it's like it is just put out. There is not a focus on the meaning, because it's the shapes of the words and the taste of the word in the mouth. Think of the seven orifices. It's a sensory reality. So the person is not speaking to you, they're just speaking. And their experience is more connection with the shape or the sound they hear when they speak something, or the taste of the word, the reverberation, rather than the meaning being projected to others. Have we got a metal CF in the room who would like to read? Please come. So now we get a different variety on hot weather gardening.
August is all about holidays and lounging on the lawn, so it is tempting to put gardening on the back burner. But the garden still needs attention if you are to carry on the summer show for as long as possible. In the kitchen garden, carrots, potatoes, marrows, runner beans and tomatoes are ripe for picking, and it's a month when all your efforts earlier in the year pay off. Even in very dry summers, we avoid watering the kitchen garden here and save our water for plants in containers.
Thank you. Great. What did you hear? Particularly those of you that had a contrast with the ones before, different reality, right? What realm are we in now? What are you hearing?
In her
In her reality, yes. That's right. Yeah.
Can you use a word like a bit distant perfection?
No. Basically, the distance. This is the reality of it's kind of seeing a different worldview. So if we go into fire, so there is an interrelationship between you and me. You know, you feel the closeness here. With metal, here is a space. And in the space are loads of the 10,000 beings. That includes a lot of things in this room that you may not necessarily be aware are in this room with you, as well as you. So it isn't a distance, it's a different focus, right? I really do mean it, but for all intents and purposes, it's speaking to the spiders and the viruses that are present with us today, as well as the humans. They're all the 10,000 beings.
Can I just ask a question on something?
Can you stand up?
I just want to ask a question on something you said earlier about, because I'm metal obviously, but I do talk quite a lot. So when you mentioned something about the within.
Yes, because if you think about fire within metal, it's different than wood within metal or earth within metal. Okay, it's the earth within the metal or the fire within the metal. We're not talking about other elements. We're talking about the within, the within. Perfectionism isn't quite right, even though it gets talked about a lot. It's more if this is where it should be now, this is where it should be. So when the leaves are on the branches, that's where they should be. It's not the tree being a perfectionist. That's just where they should be. And in the autumn, they need to be gone. And they're gone. It's just as it should be. The right Zen-chi, Z-H-E-N-Chi, the regulatory movement of Tao, as it is. So there is a focus on, yes, this is the right movement for this, which is not the right movement for something else. Okay, so as we did before, we're going to do the same thing, because I want to invite you to realize that becoming an instrument, one of the easiest ways you can change yourself so that when the person looks at you, they see themselves. You don't want them to see you. You want them to see themselves in health, beyond any pathologies they may have accrued. The easiest thing, because sometimes trying to change your emotion, you have funny experiences of the different emotions. And let's remember when we're talking about the 5 emotions of the 5 elements, 5 is the number of manifestation in health. This is not pathology. These are things as they should be. And this is really not emotion as in the 7 emotions, which speak to difficulties that can occur when people accrue emotions that should only last for a while. This is the 5 je. The Shen splits into 5 in the same way when we have the appearance of the will. This then becomes 5 and becomes the 5 wills of the 5 emotions in health. The will of spring is the violence proper to spring that you can call anger as long as you realize it's appropriate, that it's assertion and birthing. Ditto, grief, the connection and loss. So this is the 5 je. It can be hard because you have different experiences. And we don't want to play act it. It has to be authentic. So the easiest way to help yourself into becoming a congruent instrument is through changing your sound. Because this will slowly bring you into the right energetic resonance of that element. So, we need to get you to be in the right ballpark area, in the chest, in the lungs. But, this is the world of metal. Not deep breaths. Not lots of speaking. So you're going to take a breath, and then you're going to start speaking and continue speaking, and continue speaking, and your voice, listen to what's happening to my breath. And then you get to take the next breath. And now you can speak. This will create the sound of the weeping voice. So I would like you to turn to a friend sat next to you or in front of you or behind. And literally, I would just like, it doesn't matter what you say. This is not the content. You can speak in a foreign language, or you can speak in any of the languages of the 10,000 beings. If you can do good bear, please feel free. Good monkey, that works. Good elephant, that works. Just allow sounds. It doesn't matter if they don't make sense. Just sit with your friend. Be really close. Feel connected to the person next to you. But you're not speaking to him or her. You're not going for meaning. You are just in front of you, in the space between you, deep in that connection, allowing sounds to rise up and fall down, and don't take another breath. Do a couple of sentences, and then let's have your friend reply, so that we're just having this cascading movement of yin sounds falling. Great. Give it a go. Okay. Let's bring you back.
Wait a minute, Niki.
What happened when you did this, or tried to do this? What did you see was immediately different in the interaction, maybe with the person you sat next to for a while? Did something different with Amy?
Quieter.
Quieter.
Slower.
Slower.
It was one person talking, the other listening, really. And
Right.
the other person was talking, and the first one was listening, but there wasn't much direction.
Right. Not so much an exchange, more saying something and saying something.
Yeah, I felt
Yeah.
It was hard to find the space, to just let the space be, because I wanted to connect.
Right.
So
Right. See, the connection is not verbal, predominantly. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. The connection is, again, this is sensory reality. This is like, really is like two puppies, or two cats, or two elderly gorillas, right? It's a non-focus on verbal connection. Okay, moving along. We are going into water. Here we are going to listen to the water sound. While I flip the tape, do we have a water person in the room who would like to come and read, please? Water gardening.
Fungus.
Just great.
August is all about holidays and lounging on the lawn, so it is tempting to put gardening on the back burner. But the garden still needs attention if you are to carry on the summer show for as long as possible. In the kitchen garden, carrots, potatoes, marrows, runner beans and tomatoes are ripe for picking. And it's the month when all your efforts earlier in the year pay off. Even in the very dry summers, we avoid watering the kitchen garden here and save our water for plants in containers. If you are gardening on a very well-drained sandy soil, you're going to be far more likely to water. If plants are left to dry out, you will encourage bolting and powdery mildew, and if overwatered, you will encourage carrots to split and possible problems from fungal diseases. What's your favourite? Therefore, if you do water this month, do so first thing in the morning and water, well, less often.
Thank you. Brilliant. So, how did the sound of the water music and our great voice resonate? What could you see as similarity?
The image of the music to me was like ice melting on the branches and dripping down.
Okay. Great. Where did it go? Where did it start?
It was very persistent.
It was very persistent, that's true. So here we have the relentless, ever onwards. But it can start up here, right?
Yeah.
But all water goes down. So with fire, yang, yang, it always lifts. With water, it always goes down. So the voice can start here and go down, and then it goes onwards. Or here, and then goes down. So you will lift the voice. But then, that's not a fire lift, lift. It's a lift, down, 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 then it goes straight. So there is changes. A lot of you think, because of this idea of groaning being on a flat line, you miss water voices because they can start anywhere. They eventually get down. Water to sinks to the lowest place, and then it is forever onwards. The ebb and flow of the tide. But think about it. You can have, mill pond surface or raging high seas, but then you get down to the depths. So let's see if this will help you, because this is why water voices very often are misdiagnosed. Ugh. Okay. Shall we? Okay.
Is that and frankly, a lot of them in the exam board are really pleased along because they know how hard I try and how difficult the marks have been, like them, so I've gone up to these. And when was it? The ceremony was Wednesday. Yeah. So did you know that? Did you know but I got that back? Yeah. Okay, so you're going to celebrate? We're going to going out for the meal tomorrow. Well, it's like on the day afterwards. Yeah, I'm just really chuffed with you. Great stuff. Yeah.
Right. Okay, Nadia's voice. I presume that's not what you were expecting for groaning. This is good, because her voice can start way up here. Hysteria, drama, major shark land. Right? Diving with the sharks. Okay, here we have the land of water too, as well as the mill pond. And very internalized. Stillness and movement juxtaposed. Nadia's voice starts here, and then it drops and drops, and at one place there you can hear it almost step down, and then it goes on one level, and then it stops. And then it's like this, isn't it? And I don't know if I'd be better by the sea. That's perfect. And any of you that think, oh well, fire is the first or second within, wrong. Not at all. Pure yin. Great. So, water. The north, the winter, storing, focusing inwards and the cold. The planet Mercury, the moon, the black turtle at midnight, in the middle of the black night, emphasizing the essences which are being stored, safeguarded inside. like the dormouse, hibernating, slow, 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 slows the heartbeat. Wonderful video. The life and death of a dormouse. I'm not kidding. All dormouses can slow their heart and hibernate. 80% of them die when they try and restart their heart. In the spring, this is the world of water. Watch the video. This is what it's like when you're living as water all of the time. Okay. So, can we get you to do this? This would be good. Okay. Stillness and movement simultaneously. So we have to change your body. We have to get you into the lower jiao. But we have to get you into the water reality, which is in Mingmen, the right kidney, right in the center at Gardner Vessel 4. You have a police version Harley Davidson, which means you can go from 0 to 1,000 miles in 3 seconds flat. And this is here. And if you turn it off, fire's yang yang, flat fire is a dead fire chef. Water is yin yin, with just enough primordial fire in Ming Man to keep you alive, so that you have a chance maybe to live another second and wake yourself up after the winter. If you turn this off, you have a dead water chef. Okay, so it's on idle, vroom, 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 and then you can turn it up, vroom, 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 like the runaway train. And that requires everybody to either get on the train or get out the way, otherwise you're going to squash them. Right? This is what you have in your back. So you have to get yourself into that place. So you cannot sit nicely back on the chair. Right? You can't be comfortable and nice and round, and neither can you do metal slouch, creep, crawl, slither with the snakes. Forward, up, right, ready? Okay, you're ready, ready, ready. Just in case, just like bladder 1, ready, 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 waiting. When the comic's going to come, you're going to catch it, ready, waiting. So sit forwards. If you tend to be a comfortable kind of a person, then make yourself uncomfortable. Put 1 foot up, ready to run. Can you get out that window? Who can get out that window quickly when there's a fire? I can. Can you? Are you ready? In your body. Get here. And now you're just going to talk. You're going to start here and you're going to go blah, 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 blah. Right? Try and get it. The range. You can't from here. Lower jiao. Forwards. Power. Emphasis. Stillness. And movement. If your body is still, your eyes are moving. Or Nadia, the friend from the video, would pick fluff off herself or me. Constant moving. Stillness and movement simultaneously. Still body, moving eyes. Jittery body, totally still, frozen eyes. Give it a go. How about the person behind you? That would be the one to go for. Yes! Chop! Okay. So, what was your experience of this?
It's not very scary.
It felt unnatural. Yeah, and the thing is, some of these energetics for some of you, it's like you're not, that's not the world you live in. So to start with, it feels really weird. And to start with, you think you're going over the top. Whereas in the wonderful days of Leamington and the fishbowl, we used to constantly, and being videoed, So, you know, other people would go into the fishbowl and we think we were kind of totally over the top and we would be ragingly atrocious, and everybody else is saying, what are you doing? And then we watch the video and it's like, what was I doing? It was so subtle because it was so weird inside that it was hard to do it. So it don't matter if you go a bit over the top to start with. It's just finding that ease progressively you can get to do this. And as I said before the break, for those of you that weren't here, you start off with a resonance with the person. If they're very quiet and low-key, you have to start quiet and low-key and resonate with them as human. If they're huge and really like over the top, and you have to kind of a little bit. So start with a resonance and then start moving, irrespective of what sound, what emotion we're talking about. But it's really that power. So if you have anyone where you can't hear the power implied often in their voice, they may speak very softly, but there's an implied power. Groaning is not boring. So I'm just going to play you one more groaning voice. This is real time. It's 3 sections off an answering machine. Hopefully it's going to play. It's real time. So there wasn't other messages in between. So you'll hear it, a message, then a message. This was real time. It's one chunk of the answering messages taken off. Please play.
Hello again. I'm just looking at the photo again, and was it a 60-minute play? Can you remember that? I sort of think it probably was, but could you confirm that for me? Cheers, thanks very much. Bye. Hello, Sarah, it's Sue again. I'm just really thinking business most value from you how many characters there are in it, or in other words, how many actors we would need for it. Bearing in mind people could double if there was an awfully huge cast. I don't think there is. I think it's fairly tight and small, but could you just let me know that as well? Thanks. Bye. Hello, Sarah, it's Sue yet again. Ignore those my precious messages. I found the information out at the bottom of the sheet that you've given me. Sorry, I didn't pick it up down there. So, sorry about that. I'm just an idiot. Bye.
So literally, Sue picked up the phone. You know, she'd been given a sheet with all the information she needed, but she just realised she got the sheet, picked up the phone, asked a load of questions, read further down the sheet. Okay, now I've got the answer to that. Now what about these questions? Didn't bother to read the sheet. First, this is water mind, right? Drama. Immediate reality. Panic. No, not panic. No. Don't make it pejorative. This is the world where everything is like of immediate importance. Because are you going to make it through the next second? Right? It's not panic. It's just a state of mind. It's like being adrenalized, but this is normal. This is not a pathology. Okay?
It's a very personal reaction. It made me want to say, shut up.
Right, and you know, I appreciate you being willing to share this, because the reality is we can easily get into being seriously judgmental on our patients, and normally that indicates we don't quite understand their real reality. So, you know, somebody wants to talk and talk and talk and talk and ask more questions, and you basically show that you do not have good earth because you cannot be compassionate, or you don't have that immediacy of the importance of the survival, of the safeguarding and the essences, right? So you want it to stop, which would mean you would die. Oops. Yes, question.
Did you say it is not pathology?
It's not a pathology. No, it doesn't. Basically, if the way the person is not okay to them, right? It's like what you're trying to support is them being able to accept the authenticity, right? So if we have pathological fear, let's split back into the 7 emotions. You don't need to try and psychologize the person or be an analyst or a therapist or a psychiatrist. You know that in Chinese medicine because it perverts the movement of qi. Fear makes things rush downwards inappropriately. And you see that. And this is creating distress in the person's life. Having a motorbike engine that can go from 0 to 100, that's not a pathology. That's a really cool thing. If you're a Wurzjef, and not if you're a Feierjef. Right? It's like, what is it for the person?
So I can relate to everything you said being Wurzjef myself. For me, life is always about the journey, not the destination. So
absolutely.
If I make chairs, if I make chairs, I finish the chair, we go, right, it's a lovely chair, let's sit on it a bit. I go, right, what do we do now?
Right.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
Absolutely, and that's totally the nature of water, because the je, the will, water gets to contain the will of all of the 5, as we call them, emotions. The 5 je, because the translation of the character is best described as ideas with feet. Okay. Earth is talk the talk. Water is walk the walk. It's totally experiential. So it must be in action. And if that stops, you're dead.
I do have a motorbike.
I've got Harley.
Upgrade. Don't ask that. Okay.
Just ask about if somebody's more like frozen kind of fear, and you're being scary, would that?
No, because you're not being scary. You're just engendering stillness and movement. You're not trying to frighten the person. You're going to resonate and just allow. Because a lot of the time, it isn't that they're frozen. They are very yin. Someone's just totally yin on the outside. But inside, they're moving, moving, moving. Right? So society tells them, you're too intense, you're too dramatic, you're too hysterical. You know, they learn to do this. And when you come along and you're going to do this too, but then you go, right? It gives them permission and they start leaping up out of the chair and go, and it's like, yay, I've got permission to externalize, and then they'll come back in. It is like playing sharks. The game where if we were doing the emotions, you all would be the fishes and the Wurzjefs would be the sharks, and I'd be the king of the weather, and you'd all have to swim around. And when I yell shark, you have to stop, and most of you keep moving. So they eat you. Occasionally we find an honorary Wurzjef. This is very fun. Okay, so we have to move on, because we've got to do wood. That would be totally not cool. Or hot. Where's the wood? Yeah. Let's start with the Chinese music. CD, God willing. like these tapes to use in your treatment room, type in, unfortunately the address on this is not correct, so just type in Yijing, Y-I, Jing as in Qi, H-I-N-G, Pinyin, music for healing. Y-I dash C-H-I-N-G, music for healing, and you will get to a site in Taiwan where you can get these. They're great. So I just played you two little bits there because the first one is more like the movement of the trees and the second one brings in the wind and the speed of the wind. So there's different tracks with different emphases, but as I say, they're all based on the pentatonic sound of that element. And the range of health, of the movement, of the season, the sound, the officials, they're great to work with. So, when we have the yang qi on the inside and the yin on the outside, we call that metal. When we flip it, we call it wood. Yang qi on the outside, yin, blood in this case, on the inside. Wood needs the quietude of the blood and the total vigor and force of the movement of the qi on the outside. So water and fire are opposites, but the same. Separation without division. Heaven and earth, it's the same thing. This is vertical, water and fire. Then we have wood and metal, which are the opposites, but they're not really. They are the same thing, just arranged differently. And then earth is a different gig in the middle. It's the proper arrangement of the 5 elements. So, the east, spring, the sprout, or the bud, which can move progressively upwards and onwards. Obviously going with the wind, the planet Jupiter, and the heavenly stars in the sky as the heavenly body, the blue-green dragon. The sunrise, the power of birth, the impulse to generate, the will of assertion, and the virtue of benevolence. Do not forget that. Benevolente, well-wishing to others. So, aggression, violence is not the realm of wood. Grand plan, big picture, ability to then adapt to the details, to enable the continuous rebirthing of life. The scaly creatures. The color is blue-green, the color of life, not yellow-green. And the sound is the projection of you. The birthing of you in the room. The generation of sound in the room. This is called shout. It's nothing to do with having a loud voice. Lack of shout is the same thing as shout, but it's speaking inside your vocal cords, inside your throat. It's just not projected. So, it is on the same level. This is why sometimes this gets confused with groaning. Because the voice, just watch my hand for a minute. I'm surging. I then have to come back here and I surge. The voice out, 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 out. There's a defined limit to how far it can go. This is why long words get chopped off. Either they get turned into 3 parts of the word, or the person will clip the end, because you cannot project on the same level a very long word. You have to go ba-ba, so the word becomes 2, or ba-ba-ba. You hear the surge. Some woodsiephs, some shouting voices project on the first utterance. Some actually push the last bit of the word more, but you hear it's a surge, a surge, a surge, a surge, a surge. Okay, so let's have someone in the room. Could I have a volunteer from our wood people? Thank you. Wood gardening.
Do you want me to read the same piece again or something different?
I want you absolutely to read the same piece, because that way they get the contrast. Good.
Okay. August is all about holidays and lounging on the lawn. So it is tempting to put gardening on the back burner. But the garden still needs attention if you are to carry on the summer show for as long as possible. In the kitchen garden, carrots, potatoes, marrows, runner beans and tomatoes are ripe for picking. And it's the month when all your efforts earlier in the year pay off. Even in very dry summers, we avoid watering the kitchen garden here and save our water for plants in containers.
I'm just going to stop you a minute, because I want you to get this. Even in very dry summers, right? It's like each word. So I slowed it down there. So I want you to listen to this, because you don't have a very loud voice. But I want them to get level, level, level. Each word articulated. Full stop. See if you can really hear that.
If you are gardening on well-drained sandy soil, you are going to be far more likely to water. If plants are left to dry out, you will encourage bolting and powdery mildew. And if overwatered, you will encourage carrots to split and possible problems from fungal disease. Therefore, if you do water this month, do so first thing in the morning and water well less often.
Brilliant. Thank you. So, what was the relationship with you? Pardon?
Slightly more directive.
Directive.
With
Absolutely. Pardon?
With projection, they actually want to project it.
Yes, wood is highly relational. Wood and fire and earth. Because wood is like baby yarn, if you want. You know, fire is bigger yarn. And earth has both yin and yang, but a huge sense of community. So there is you in the equation, just differently. Whereas metal and water are much more the yin realities of they have to do their own thing, right? That doesn't mean you're excluded, but you're not the predominant focus, right? So it is highly relational. You know, they want, this is the thing, they want someone to play with. They want the worthy opponent. They want to play ping pong with someone who's really good at playing ping pong. It's pointless playing ping pong with someone who goes, over the net, over the net. Yuck! Come on, smash it at the end and send it back to me and I'm ready, I gotta get it over there. 1 point for me, you know, it's win-win. You gotta do win, because they wanna win. They don't want you to lose though. That's the thing, no aggression, no conflict, no saying no. In the classics, always reward work. Always. They are always right. Even when they are wrong, they are right. This is the beginning of, the customer is always right. Wood is always right. You always reward. It's like, yes, absolutely. How are you going to kill the wife? Tell me how. Yes! Because by doing that, they don't really want to kill the wife. By doing that, they'll say, but no, I need her because she does my eye. That isn't really what they mean, but you've got to reward, right? It's like, yes, this is what they're looking for. Okay. So, best buddies, different kind of buddies to play games with. Let's see if we can have a couple of wood voices here. 17. Okay. It might not.
It's gone. The one wrong move syndrome is about the fragility you carry in your body, the belief that if things are going well, it is an illusion in the same way as when your alcoholic father showed up sober at the school play and acted like everyone else's father for one night. You were prepared for the worst. You were always prepared for the worst. You knew that things could fall apart at any moment. You knew that things had already fallen apart, but you never stopped hoping for your father to stay sober forever. And you never stopped hoping for your family to be different. And you never stopped pretending that they already were.
Okay, Jenna's voice. What did it make you feel? Where did it go?
Slightly bombarded.
You felt slightly bombarded, right? Because her voice is just coming out. And it's forever just coming out. Because it's like saying, be the worthy opponent. Play with me, come on, good game, right? You want to win, I want to win. Let's do it together. Right? If you feel like, ooh, it's like they'll go, okay, another flake. And then on to the next one. Because they want you to step up to the plate, right? So you have to not be bombarded, right? Because you've got to be big. Go on, more, give me more, right? Then send the ball back. Okay. Other experiences. Yeah.
I felt that it was okay because you know where you stand.
You know where you stand, you do indeed. It's terribly tangible. A table is a plank of wood with 4 legs. It's not one of these fluffy things you sit round to talk with people about or eat together or all that kind of stuff. It's a piece of wood with 4 legs. What you see is what you get. That's good. Other comments? Okay, let's try this one. 17.
Okay. The accident. We are leaving Grossingers. My father is checking out, paying the bill. I am standing in the parking lot with my mother. She's leaning on a car with her right leg. Ron Macaluso gets in his new Silver Thunderbird with the red leather seats and begins driving toward the car my mother is leaning on. He doesn't see her. He drives into her leg, smashes it between his car and the other one. She screams. The scream rips through my body like jagged metal, tearing skin, bones, heart. She falls. Mom, are you okay? Oh, gosh. Get an ambulance, she whispers.
All right. What did you experience there?
It's very staccato.
Very staccato.
Matter of fact.
Very matter of fact.
Very pictorial.
Very visual, pictorial, absolutely. Wood is the language of vision. So if you want to talk to an RCF, you want to say, what do you think? Or, tell me what you've considered, right? These are all earthworks, with wood. What do you see? What's your perception of? Use verbs, particularly the verbs that speak to the direction and the movement and the power and the virtue of that element. Metal is the sensory reality, the 7 orifices, sense orifices. Fire is the heart and the feeling. Water is the feet and the experience. What have you tangibly experienced? What road have you walked down? Kind of questions. But this is all, what do you see? Tell me, your perspective. Then it will work. Good, very like that. Any other comments?
No nonsense?
No nonsense.
When she said, she whispered, she didn't lower her voice at all.
Right, I mean, you could still hear.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so where are you going to do wood from? So let's get you to stand up. Because what you need to be able to do is bring liberty up from the floor, up through your legs, into the middle jowl. Let it out from the middle jowl. Don't have it going up into your head. I don't want you to get pathology and a migraine. Bring it up, out, expand your diaphragm. Stick your arms out, stretch your sinews. Right, breathe properly, diaphragm and lobes of the lung, right, stretching your sinews. Okay, now just keep that internal thing. So when you are upright, you have a line from governor vessel 22 or 20, depending on your perspective, going up to heaven. If you want to do wood, it's from governor vessel 22. That's where your hun can come and go to see the benevolence of the Tao. Just bring it down inside, but keep that middle jowl expanded. And now find a friend and just tell them how wonderful it is to see them and blah blah, and you're going to meet them, blah blah, whatever. Come on. So, the reality is, as an educator, I can't actually teach you anything. All I can do, no one can teach anybody anything. All I can do is invite you to learn, to put in work, and give you a few ideas that might entice you or cajole you or show you there would be benefits for you and or your patients for you to put in work. Go get your friends to leave you messages when you know the sound of their voice. Practice. Can you do that? Get loads of them, do a range, so it gets more comfortable. We used to sit in cafes, I still do, and listen to people's voices from behind me, and it's like, then am I really sure I can get that range of wood, that range of fire, that range of water? You have to practice, but I can promise you, it's worth it, because the more you become an instrument, not only do you feel more confident with your diagnosis, but if you can sustain that ability to be an instrument through the person's treatments, so truly, they say things like, God, you're just the same as me. You must have the same energetic. And it's like, your energetic is the diametric opposite. Right? It's like, so that means I totally can trust you. So when you say, I can do this, I believe you. That's what it's really about. And that is the world of miracles. I hope I've shown you that actually this isn't that difficult. Right? You just have to cross the line and try it. And You know, patients wait for you to get it right. If you do something a bit weird, they just think, oh, she's having a funny day. Because they want you to get it right. They want you to know how to be with them. They want to be told they're the best thing ever, exactly as heaven has created them. And you really get that. So it's worth it for them, and it's worth it for you. Because now you get to experience the wonder of the movement, of the 5 wills of life in health. This way you sort yourself out, as well as your patients. Thank you very much. Have fun.